guys, what's going on, dudes? It is David here. We're back with another video. Now, in this video, guys, before I get into my Premier League predictions for this video, I want to let you guys know this. There will be nothing going alongside me. This is going to be a straight talk going through all 20 teams of the Premier League and giving you my predictions for each and every spot. Now, this is going to be an interesting Premier League predictions, and this is the first time I've ever done this when it comes to my YouTube channel, like properly one-on-one talk straight type of video. Number 20 in last place and getting relegated, I have Southampton. The only reason I have Southampton bottom is really the team just does not seem to be fit enough to stay in the Premier League, and really haven't seen Southampton make that many signings. I don't know much about their manager, but I do want to say this. Southampton is a very much lovable club. They produce some of the best world-class players in there. Van Dijk is one of them. Thierry Henry, not Thierry Henry. Theo Walcott is another one. But Southampton is going to be going down. In 19th place is going to be joining them. It's going to be the other newly promoted team in Ipswich Town. Now, the coach obviously plays a certain type of football, but if we gotta realize that managers that have come into the Premier League in the past that played a certain type of football have gotten relegated, i.e. last year with Burnley, and then i.e. before Leeds with the guy that now coaches the Uruguay national team, and I forgot his name. But 19th is going to be Ipswich. 18th and the final team getting relegated is going to be Leicester. Now, I love Leicester City, man. They are a former Premier League champion, but ever since then, it's been on a downhill slump. And considering the fact that they just lost one of their best midfielders in Dewsbury Hall, the fact that they just lost their coach that brought them back up into the Premier League and Fonseca to Chelsea, it's going to be a big, big loss for them. And I think that if they had been able to keep the coach, not even Dewsbury Hall, I think that Leicester would have stayed up. But unfortunately for them, that means that all three promoted teams from last season will be going right back down to the championship. And hopefully, the next time Leicester does come back up, Leicester can actually keep the manager and stay in the Premier League, because I love seeing Leicester in the Premier League considering the run that they had in the Premier League. 17th place and just avoiding relegation is Wolves. I do not like the coach at all, and I just don't think that the Wolves team is built enough to finish mid-table for the Premier League. I feel like they're going to be like candidates for a relegation battle, possibly even maybe above a relegation battle, but it's just because also, even though Chelsea just seem to be buying all over the place, they just lost one of their most important players in Pedro Neto. But it just seems like the Wolves team, like if their strikers can get in form, Wolves can do good, but if they can't get in form, they can do bad. That's why I have them 17th. 16th is Fulham. Fulham. And the reason why I have Fulham in 16th place, they just lost one of their best defensive midfielder in their whole club, and that was João Palhinha, who went to Bayern Munich to join Vincent Kompany. That's going to be a big miss. Yes, they'll be able to sign someone to replace him, but do you think he's going to have the same impact as quickly as João Palhinha had? No. Fulham is going to be a team that's going to be right there, like in the mid-table battle slash towards the relegation battle. They do got a very good goalkeeper in Bernd Leno, who I very much like from his Arsenal days, of course. But I just don't really see Fulham having enough firepower to keep them up at least higher than mid-table. And if anything, they'll probably finish like mid-table to lower mid-table. So that's the reason why I have them in 16th. 15th is Everton. And Everton is just seemed to be a club that just can't stop getting out of issues. They're having to do a FIFA financial fair play, and the Premier League has come down on them with points deductions before. They could be losing one of their best center backs in Braithwaite to Manchester United. And the way that Sean Dyche plays the football, yes, it could be very defensive football, and we see how he was at Burnley. But considering even though now that he's gone to Everton, he hasn't really had an opportunity like invest in the type of squad that he wants, because I believe that Sean Dyche can. Everton will probably be finishing towards mid-table, high mid-table in that era, but I'm just going to have Everton finishing in 15th place. 14th place, the team that I actually surprisingly really like, is Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth's manager, obviously, they lost their manager, I believe, at the beginning of the last season. But ever since then, it seems like Bournemouth has just been finding their foot. Yes, they just lost Dominic Solanke, so this is the reason why I have Bournemouth like around bottom mid-tier table, is because Dominic Solanke has been a very good striker for Bournemouth in the past couple of years. But considering the amount of money that they got for him, Tottenham definitely overpaid for Solanke. I don't really think he's that good, but still, Bournemouth is going to struggle to like finish mid-table. They're going to end up finishing 14th. 13th place is a team that I don't really have that much to say about, and that is Nottingham Forest. Like I said, I don't really have much to say about Nottingham Forest because they just feel like a team that won't be dealing with relegation battles at all. Like quite literally, I think it's going to take a humongous seasonal collapse for Nottingham Forest to be like in the relegation battle. And I just feel like they're going to be one of those teams that are going to be always like mid-table every single year in the Premier League until something bad happens to them. And I really don't happen because Nottingham Forest have a history in the Premier League, obviously, and so I want to see them do well. Next up, we have 12th place Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal Palace did lose one of their most important players to also, I believe, Bayern Munich as well. Bayern Munich seem to be buying a lot of players from the Premier League coming to the German League. But Crystal Palace is another one. I mean, they haven't lost their other best player. I'm forgetting his name right now, but I'm going to continue. Crystal Palace just seem to be a team that will always stay right there in the mid-tier battle. I mean, I believe when Roy Hodgson was there last year, they were battling with a relegation, then their new manager came in and brought them a new life. And it seems like Crystal Palace have been doing really, really good since then. So that's the reason why I have Crystal Palace in 12th. And finishing in the bottom half of the table in 11th place is Brentford. The one thing I think that's going to be saving Brentford this season, they've kept Ivan Toney. And if Ivan Toney can get back on his form, Brentford can have a very good season. I just don't see Brentford finishing in the upper half of the table, considering the amount of firepower that's in the upper half of the table. But Brentford could definitely finish the best of the rest and finish at the top of the bottom half of the table. But now we move on into the top 10. And in number 10 spot, we have Brighton. Now, Brighton seem to be a team that know how to develop players and sell them off for a lot of money. Moises Caicedo, a player that they sold, and I think they robbed Chelsea of that money because so far since they've sold Moises Caicedo, he has not been worth that money. And I believe they just sold Pascal Gross to Dortmund for a good amount of money. And I believe that he's a mid-tier player as well, but he's German, so he's going to be having a very good season at Dortmund for Nuri Sahin. Brighton and the coach just seem to be very well gelled together. I believe that Brighton do have a good season this year. This will be the coach's last season for Brighton. So when it comes to the Premier League predictions for next year, I can honestly see like Brighton finishing lower down. But I just think that the amount of firepower that Brighton have, the amount of the team chemistry that Brighton have, is just going to be enough for them to finish in 10th place. Number 9 seems to be a team that's doing well in terms of the transfer business. I'd probably put them up in top 10 in transfer business, probably top 5 transfer business. West Ham. Ever since they got rid of David Moyes and brought in Lopetegui, it seems like the West Ham have been definitely changing. They just brought in Nicholas Folkberg from Dortmund. They brought in a couple other players that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But the only reason I have West Ham in 9th place is really because of the manager. I do not like the manager at all. The manager was the manager for Spain for, I think, about a couple years. Never did anything, and Spain just won the Euro 2024 with a guy that's been a year under 23, under 21, under 18. He's been all that, and he won Spain a Euro. So what does that tell you about Lopetegui? And he's had past management jobs where he's been fired. He was a manager of Real Madrid. Real Madrid, that was one Real Madrid's worst start in the La Liga season. He ended up getting fired. So I think that no matter what, if West Ham do fire the coach, I think that the guy that runs the transfer business has done well enough that the next manager possibly coming in will still be able to put his input on the team and work well with the team to better them and better their result for the future coming. But West Ham is going to be finishing 9th place. 8th place is going to be Newcastle United. Now, I love Eddie Howe. Obviously, I love Eddie Howe since his days at Bournemouth. But it just doesn't seem like Newcastle can spend the amount of money on the players that they want because I think that if Newcastle wasn't getting restricted with future financial player play and how the Premier League does it, Newcastle could become a top 4 team. But I just don't see anything possible. I do believe that they're not going to have any European football when it comes to the season, so that'll be a benefit of the doubt for them. But I just don't see their squad being better than the 7 teams I have above them, and that's going to be very, very shocking, but it's just the honest truth. 7th place, Chelsea. And the only reason I have Chelsea there is because, man, oh man, what is Chelsea doing? Chelsea has spent 1.3 billion since the new American owners come into the team, and it has not bettered their result. I think their best result is what they finished last season. I believe they finished last season in 5th, if I remember right. I just don't see Chelsea buying all these players and they were able to get gelled enough to continue without the season. If it comes down to it, Chelsea will probably be like mid-table and probably do what they did last year, which is like mid-table starting the second half of the year and then come on a streak towards the end and probably finishing 7th. But I just don't think they're going to get top 6. 6th place is going to be Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa is going to be in the Champions League this year, so that's going to be interesting to see. But the reason why I just don't think they're going to get top 5 again. It's just because that in this case, Champions League, that's going to be good. Aston Villa is going to have to have the depth for the Champions League, and I just don't think they have enough at this moment right now. Maybe if they were to make it into the Champions League again and get the extra money again, they would be able to have a deep enough squad. But Unai Emery is a very good coach, and I believe that if Aston Villa do not make it to the next round of the Champions League and they get knocked out into the Europa League, I can see Unai Emery winning the UEFA Europa League with Aston Villa, but I just don't think they're going to be able to get top 5. 5th place is the mortal enemy of Arsenal, that is Tottenham Hotspur. And Tottenham Hotspur have a very good coach. They have a very well put together team. I believe they're buying way too many strikers because don't they have Richarlison? They have Timo Werner, and then they just brought in Dominic Solanke. So they're really trying to find somebody to replace Harry Kane and score the goals that Harry Kane used to score for them during the past few Premier League seasons. I just don't see that happening. The goalkeeper for Tottenham I very much like. I believe his name is Vicario. I believe he is Italian, but I very much like him as a goalkeeper, and that Tottenham defense is actually pretty decent. So when it comes to this, I'm at Spurs in 5th. Now it gets on into the most important positions. 4th place, we have Manchester United. Manchester United finishing in 4th place. Well, I wonder what's the reason why I had Manchester United finishing 4th place. Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of people were shitting on the coach last year, and the coach was not doing good last year. I think that's going to be different. I think that Ten Hag will finally have his good season for Manchester United. They just got new owners. They just got Jim Ratcliffe, who I believe is partnered with Ineos, who also have a stake in the Formula One team as Mercedes. And I just believe that with the new owners and with like the new future clear vision for Manchester United, plus them bringing back Ruud van Nistelrooy, who has past history with Manchester United, so he's going to know what it is true about the club. That's going to be able to help them in terms of their championship business and how the club grows into development. Now, they've had a lot of injuries start off the season. I believe their newest signing, the defender, is already injured, and he's going to be out for a couple of months. But it's going to be interesting to see Manchester United finishing in 4th. Now, this one's going to give me a lot of hate. Yeah, you would think I would have Liverpool finishing in 2nd, but I think the Liverpool coach, even though he has barely made any transfer business, I feel like he's done the best thing, and that is keep the complete squad together and see how well the squad can do together. The squad already has chemistry. It's just a new manager that's going to have to build chemistry with them. And I think that Liverpool will be finishing 2nd, and that means it's either Manchester City or Arsenal finishing in 3rd. And you'd be very surprised. With everything going on, I think that's going to be a huge distraction. I've heard rumors that Ederson could be leaving Manchester City in a couple of weeks, heading into Saudi Arabia. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that. That's completely fine. I keep up with Fabrizio Romano, so when it comes to that, I could be wrong. Man City, I have finishing in 3rd. Yes, you heard that right. You can come after me all you want. I have Man City finishing in 3rd, which means at the end of the day, the team that I have winning the 2024-2025 Premier League season. I think at least 11 years to the day of the last Premier League title they won, and that is it. The top four is Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool in second, and the Premier League champions of the 2024-2025 season are Arsenal.